A moment when I felt a little bit of culture shock. I think I was at the dining hall with one of my friends, and she was on his phone. We started speaking another language. For me, whenever I've heard like other languages being spoken like on TV, like in movies or something, it always sounds like really forced. I feel like little subtitles below, and like either like the actor like didn't really know that language, or like it doesn't seem to like really match with what they're saying. And when my friends started talking like in another language, my mind kept like thinking that I should be able to understand what he was saying, and I couldn't. And so it was just kind of like, this is his voice, but he's speaking and I actually don't know what he's saying, but it sounds like I should know what he's saying because it's his voice. And so I think it was just a moment like,
I remember being 14 years old and having my parents put me on a flight back to visit the country in which they were living at the time. It was a French-speaking country in Central Africa called Congo-Brazzaville. And I was in a market. I'd never been in the market before. People talk a lot about how markets are organized, but this is a place where markets are really organized in the classical way because the price setting happens through bargaining. You might see something that's worth $20, but you know, my mom would go in and say, no, this is actually worth less than that because if you look at this and etc. And I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? This is against the rules of appropriate decorum in the marketplace. And she's like, you don't understand how things work within the market. What if the salespeople set prices that are extremely high and because they know they're going to be bargained down and so they're still going to be making a profit? That to me was very odd because I come in expecting to just have a lump sum for a PlayStation or whatnot, but having my mom arguing with someone about fish, it was quite an interesting experience for me.
The first time I traveled to Indonesia, I was like 8 years old, and we landed at the airport and you could tell you weren't in America anymore. Yeah, everybody was dressed differently. The country is mostly Muslim, so there's like a lot of headscarves, and people don't usually, show their knees or their shoulders or anything, and that's actually very different from where I'm from California. So.
I was doing an exchange program in Korea. Most of them had not seen a black person before, and people came to me in like large groups, touched me, or look at my hands and be like, what? They're different colors on either side, or they just like pull my hair or something. Well, back home that never happens. In America that's offensive, and here they come in big numbers as if it's a cool thing to do,
When I went abroad, I think like the first 5 weeks I'm like, this is fine, like no culture shock here. But then I started realizing like I really can't communicate with people here. I hadn't studied any Italian before going to Italy. Then I think after that experience I went to Barcelona. It was like, whoa, like I can communicate with people here because I speak Spanish and stuff.
And so I went to China for the first time, and I'd grown up knowing about China. My grandmother spoke Chinese, but when I went back, one of the most vivid memories I had was walking into a bathroom stall and seeing a squat toilet for the first time. And I had just never seen this before, and it's so common, and that is what a toilet looks like in most of Asia. It was something to adjust to. It was something that I consciously had to change about myself.
Just seeing how people treat their grandparents and like disabled people was just very shocking to me, because in Ghana you don't put your grandparents away in a nursing home, and I understand that due to the requirements and restrictions of capitalism, not to get all Marxist right now, but due to this capitalist society that is so intensified in the United States, it makes it such that people have no option but to resort to these means. But I just found it so weird to hear people say, oh, I see my grandparents only once a year because they're in a nursing home. It's a different way of viewing family and people's value in the United States was definitely a culture shock for me.
The single most thing that was different was the way people regard kind of familial interactions. So for me, I've got tons of aunts and cousins and uncles that are not related to me, but they are my family. Whereas in America, your very good friends don't become your family. There's still like a separation there for me. So I think that would be the biggest cultural difference that I experienced.
I think one of the like biggest moments of culture shock I ever had was actually at the University of Chicago. I was actually unlocking my car my second year, and I got approached by the UCPD, and they asked me like, you know, is this your car? And I was like, no, I have keys to someone else's car that I'm so obviously this is my car. And I was like, this is a very weird thing. The like way that the police interact with me, like where it's not like they are like accusing me of stealing a car, but they're suggesting it, which is something that has never happened before. Because growing in Southside Chicago, there was never a suggestion. So Chicago police do not suggest you did something. You just did something and then you're in trouble. I think that's why like the culture shock aspect of it is that you are surprised. You can read about it. Like I've read about Chicago all the time. I read about it. But once you get here and you get to like there's the intellectualism, which is amazing. But there's also like the kind of the fear of the otherness that like, kind of pick up on too. Like, my family's Nigerian. Being in that culture, then being in the American culture, and then being in the elite American culture has been like a series of like increasingly large disparities.
Culture shock was about coming to America and learning new things and really feeling what it's like to be in a new environment where you are almost lost because you know everything's completely different. So culture shock for me is about experience, difference, change, growth.
I'm just